So this is huge. Like, I cannot even believe this is happening. This breaking news. We literally have conservative podcasts, big names that you know, that have now been indicted by the Department of Justice. Benny Johnson, Tim Pool, and Dave Rubin. These conservative voices, these that have been all been indicted by the Department of Justice for Russian collusion, of working with Russia to spread propaganda to change the elections. We're going to go over that in just a moment. But the person that runs their media company, Tenet Media, is Lauren Chen. We've got a video from her, but they're saying she is also being indicted as a Russian agent. These are conservative voices. This is huge, but I've got things to show you of what's going on. Because this is Russian disinformation again. Remember 2016? It was Trump and Russia collusion, which they found out that it came from Hillary Clinton, who started it all. And then in 2020, it was Hunter Biden laptop. It's fake. It's Russian disinformation. Let me know your thoughts. We'll show you the evidence in a moment. We have the SAVE Act, which is gaining steam, being attached to the spending bill to avoid the government shutdown. And a lot of Republicans are holding strong, saying it's time to act and protect our democracy. We need to require voter ID for proof of citizenship for all federal elections. And we have new data that is showing that the federal government loses $500 billion a year in fraud. $521 billion a year is lost of taxpayer dollars to fraud. This is horrible. Just want to say thank you to everybody that's watching. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button so we can serve you every day with the top news. And if you don't mind clicking the thumbs up button, it really does help to grow the channel. Want to thank the new members, PM Anderson, to the channel. And also just to let everybody know, we're doing something big. I've been thinking about this for a while. We're now offering a new membership on the channel. It's only, guys, it's only 99 cents. The link is in the description. You go to the channel. There's a big black subscribe button. Next to it say join. We want to get to 10,000 members on this channel. We want to change lives. We want to take that money and go change lives and do videos about it, showing how this community is going to impact and make a positive movement in this world. We're going to do big things. So please join us on our mission here on True Life to bring the truth to the world. It's only 99 cents. We want to do this to change lives. So thank you so much for everybody that supports the channel, to all of our new members. Let's get right into this because it's going to get crazy. But before we get into the Russian collusion stuff, we're going to look at the government shutdown. Check it out.
In House Judiciary Committees. Andy, good to see you. So one, will this pass? And two, will it make a difference making sure that people are citizens when they register? Well, this might happen, pass in October 1st, and everyone's already registered to vote.
Yeah, Sean, that's the big problem with it. I mean, I do think it's going to pass. But I also think that the effectiveness of the SAVE Act isn't going to really be there because, as you pointed out earlier, early balloting starts in some places as soon as 2 days from now. And that means that they're going to already be voting. Mm-hmm. And so that is a real question. But I voted for the SAVE Act. I co-sponsored the SAVE Act. It passed out. It's a good idea. It's a good bill. But there's so many other things that should go on when you start talking about a CR that's going to actually increase the structural deficit by $1.25 trillion over the next 6 months, unless you do something.
Congressman, just sticking to the SAVE Act, just listening to Senator Kelly, a solution looking for a problem, that just strains credulity.
Let me know, do you think that the government should shut down if it doesn't have the spending bill, the SAVE Act attached to the spending bill? Now remember, the SAVE Act is to require proof of citizenship for all federal elections. Should they attach it to the spending bill? Let me know in the comments.
because Sean and I have talked about this on the program. There have been more than 10 million attempts made to register to vote without an ID, based on data from the Social Security Administration. That is not even all 50 states. 1.7 million of those attempts, or 17%, were rejected because the numbers didn't match. 150,000 people did have matching Social Security numbers, but they were those of dead people.
Ooh.
Yeah, Dagan, those.
Did you hear that?
Part of it.
Hold on. I want to say this real quick. 1.7 million people have tried to register to vote. They caught, I think it was like 10 or 17,000 of them, but a lot of them, they can't line them up because they had Social Security numbers, but they were from dead people. This is why we're going to show you in a moment that the Trump campaign is suing all 15 counties in Arizona because they're refusing to clean up their voter rolls. This is big.
If Senator Kelly would actually look at the data from our home state, we both are from Arizona, and if he were to look at and see the incredible bump up in people requesting federal-only ballots, it corresponds with this increase in the number of illegal aliens crossing our border. And why is that? It isn't because all of a sudden Arizonans saying, oh gosh, I don't want to vote in state elections, and so I'll just vote in a federal election. What it is as you pointed out, the overall data indicates pretty strenuously. And if you look at Virginia, that's another place where they're trying to clean off foreign registrants off their voter rolls. You will see that it seems obvious that there is illegal aliens registering to vote and voting.
Wow.
Well, illegals registering to vote doesn't mean they actually have to vote. Someone is going to vote for them. That's the point, having these folks registered. But let's move on to this. Whenever there is a Democrat and an election coming up, there's apparently Russian election interference.
Right here.
Biden's DOJ coming out swinging against Putin and his state-run media. Watch.
Attorney General Garland, Russia today sent a statement to Fox News and some other outlets here, mocking the situation. They had 5 bullet points or 6 bullet points. The first said, ha, 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 ha. 2016 wants its cliches back. In all seriousness, there is a subsection of the country that when they hear Russian interference, they may believe that it's not true. It's not a real thing. How do you assure people this is a real situation?
I'm sure that was much funnier in the original Russian. But for us, it's not funny. This is deadly serious, and we are going to treat it accordingly.
But you know what was funny? Is that in 2016, the Russian collusion was fake. In 2020, the Hunter Biden laptop that they said was Russian misinformation was fake.
So, Andy, the FBI was part of the push on the fake Russia collusion hoax. They also pushed Facebook to say there could be some Russian disinformation with regard to the Burisma and the Bidens, which was the Hunter Biden laptop. So now they think that we're stupid and that we think again that they can play the same cards, the same hand on Russia collusion, and we're going to buy it as Americans?
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is most Americans view what is coming out from our federal institutions like FBI and whatnot with a great deal of skepticism. And this is one more example of it. You notice that Merrick Garland didn't bother to mention Iran, that they said Iran is trying to get fiddle with our elections. They didn't mention that in today's notification to the public. But here's the deal. I view these guys, is Russia probably interfering? Is China? Maybe Iran? Maybe they are. They probably are. But here's the deal. We don't trust those institutions anymore, and that's the shame of it.
That's
because
so sad.
They have cried wolf once too often, and they've done it for political purposes. And so now we view almost everything they say with a healthy skepticism toward their bias.
I want to know what is going to happen to the 51 former intelligence officers.
Thank you.
Who issued that letter calling the Hunter Biden laptop story Russian disinformation, a letter that, I mean, the beginning of it was signed by, Clapper, Mike Hayden, Leon Panetta, the whole thing organized by Tony Blinken. And by the way, on the FBI, the watchdog just came out and said that the FBI is still falling short on following up on child sex crimes. Remember? It's just astonishing at what they consider to be priorities
Yeah, and Dagan and Sean, I would tell you, with the 51, the very first thing, the easiest thing we should have done is taken away the security clearance of every one of those 51. They should not have lifetime security clearance. They need to be removed from that, and that'll affect their bottom line. And then we need to get after FBI. We shouldn't be building them a new Taj Mahal. We shouldn't be giving Secret Service another $3 billion. Because all of these federal police agencies have now come into question as to their veracity when they tell the public stuff, because we just don't believe them anymore. And that, by the way, and Sean, you know this well, that goes for Congress. We don't believe them either.
No.
Like we're literally at a point in America where all the institutions that have been there for as long as they have, hundreds of years, have gotten to the point where we don't trust them anymore. Why? Because we have the truth. The truth is they can't hide things anymore. We are seeing behind the scenes all these whistleblowers, all the things that are happening every time that they said, remember, they said that all this Russian collusion in 2016, 2020, it was all fake. And then the 51, agents that signed, FBI agents that signed saying the Hunter Biden laptop was legitimate, even though they found out and knew that it wasn't, trying to sway the elections. I'm telling you, the truth is coming out like never before. And this is where, again, too, I believe that this is why Trump needs to be president and clean house, get America back on track, and rebuild the trust into the establishments that we've had for so long. Check this out.
The trick they use. Here's Scott McFarland, another guy I used to know who used to be sane. Here he is teeing it up. Notice how this isn't really a question. It's more of a bunt to Karine Jean-Pierre. Here's what they're doing here. They know, and I'm going to, folks, please do not miss tomorrow's show. Forgive me, but I have so much material, I can't fit it all in one day. I have an extensive, well-researched segment tomorrow on exactly how, I'll tee it up for you in a little bit, but exactly how the October surprise is going to happen and why they will never concede the loss of the election to Donald Trump, knock on wood, if we win.
Wow.
So what they're preparing for right now, sorry for the intro, but this is important. They've got to set the narrative to media now about violence. They're going to blame everything on Trump provocateurs, even though it's going to be them in that period from November to January, the transition period, that's going to be engaged in extensive violence if Trump wins. I'm absolutely sure of it. The street violence will be out of control. So they got to cover for it. So watch how he sets this question up, and January 6th, of course, has to be introed into it. You'll see what I mean after you watch. Check this out.
Last month, the president in an interview said he's not confident at all about a peaceful post-election in America. What's the White House's concern about unrest, baseless challenges to election certification, and is the administration doing anything to prevent or protect against danger?
So I'm going to be really
literally projecting it.
Not get ahead of what's going to happen in the upcoming months. I think, and going back to the answer that the president gave, if you saw what happened on January 6th in 2021, I think any president who cares about our democracy, who cares about our freedom, who cares about free and fair elections, who truly cares about that, would be concerned. You can't be blinded by what happened.
Notice what McFarland does. Again, another guy who used to pretend to be sane. Notice the question. That gets me every time. Gets me every time. I love that you guys did that. Very good. The question is about what are you going to do to counter baseless election claims? They're baseless. He doesn't have any idea what's going to happen in the election. There could be an obvious case of outright fraud where Joey Bag of Donuts is caught with 1,000 fake ballots at a box. And I promise you, if it benefits Kamala Harris, they will claim they're baseless. He's already established the fact that any challenge to the election is baseless if they cheat. And he wants to know what the Biden administration is doing about the danger, with the subtle implication that the danger is coming from the right. You see why the
I'm telling you this. Mark this day. Mark my words. As we move forward and get closer and closer to the election, the more that you'll hear about potential violence, potential things that could happen that are not democratic, that are not safe. Why? Because again, the like what we saw in the last election, what we saw with the January 6th riot, they want to project that into people's minds. They want people to already be thinking about that and saying, no, we can't vote for him because this might happen. Do you see the manipulative way that they try to distort people's thoughts? Man, I'm telling you, it's so crazy.
January 6th narrative is so important to them? This is already providing cover to an administration that if they lose, I guarantee you is going to engage in massive street violence. There's going to be street thugs everywhere. And they're going to blame it on the MAGA crowd. 100%. You see how the media engages in the ideological subversion?
Hey, if you are a MAGA crowd, let's get some shout outs in the chat. If you are MAGA 2024, Trump 2024, put it in the chat. Let me see it.
Subversion, however, also requires a couple of other things from the inside out. It's not just ideological. You need to destroy a nation's economy because an economy can keep a nation afloat, even a nation in decay, for a really long time, as long as it decays slowly. What they call in political parlance a managed decline. So you've got to destroy the economy faster because the American entrepreneur is not going to go away quietly. But you also have to destroy the border. Here's Chip Roy on an extremely important piece of legislation. She's talking about the SAVE Act. Folks, the SAVE Act is probably the most critical piece of legislation for this election.
Right.
It would ensure a simple thing, that only citizens can vote in U.S. elections. The Democrats are adamantly against this and are willing to shut the government down because they want non-citizens to vote in an election. But there's a catch. The Democrats' response is, well, it's already illegal for non-citizens to vote in elections. You sure about that? It may be illegal, but there's an interesting carve-out for the states. Listen to Chip Roy explain exactly what this is about and why this is so important. Check this out.
The second piece to that puzzle is the impact on voting, the impact on non-citizens voting in our elections. It is by design. Democrats say, but Chip, it's not a problem. It's already against the law for non-citizens to vote in federal elections. That is technically true. But what they don't go on to tell you is that federal law has been interpreted by courts to restrict the ability of states to actually check the data and collect the information or to take the documentary proof of citizenship. That has been eliminated by the courts.
Wow.
So Arizona, for example, has two different systems. They have a system for state and local elections, and they have a system for federal elections because the federal courts have restricted their ability to check citizenship on federal elections. That should tell you the state of the law.
If they're literally trying to prohibit people from verifying that people are citizens, do you not think that that is a telltale sign that they're trying to cover something up? Let me know your thoughts.
If you can't check citizenship during an election, then how are you going to detect if non-citizens are voting? You see being run by the media? Well, it's already illegal. It's only illegal if you can check it and make sure they're abiding by the law and doing it legally. You're never going to ideologically, economically, and national security-wise subvert a nation from the inside out with sound, defensible borders. Look at this New York Post cover. 3 out of 4 arrested in Midtown in a Midtown migrant crime wave. 3 out of 4 arrested in Midtown of migrant crime again and again.
Nuts.
3 out of 4. It doesn't matter if it's 1 out of 20. They shouldn't be here. They're here for one reason. The Democrats do not want a clear, defined, defensible border because they need it. They talk about it all the time. They refer to it, it is their thing, as replacement theory. You can read their own articles about it. Just put in a search engine, demographic destiny. Just put in a search engine, New York Times, Michelle Goldberg. We can replace them. This is their theory. It's not ours. They're just mad at us for noticing. Folks, another key component of this is economic destruction too. And liberal states are leading the way in a bunch of nonsense, voodoo-like theories that are taking down this country from the inside out. I want you to watch this quick. This is Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful, if you watch Shark Tank. He's a very, very strong business mind. He does some hits on Fox once in a while. I think he was on CNN here. He's on a liberal network. And he just goes for it, saying how, folks, you can't invest in these blue states no more. They're not investable. Don't you? Are you ever going to wake up? Jobs matter. Here, take a look.
And here's the one thing that nobody saw coming, and this is the competition of states. I don't put companies here in New York anymore, or in Massachusetts, or in New Jersey, or in California. Those states are uninvestable. The policy here is insane. The taxes are too high. We put them in Fargo, North Dakota, because 40% of the people work elsewhere, including Boston. So I was, a bit of a debate with Elizabeth Warren about this, but I say, look, Senator, we've got to move the companies out of your state because you're not investable anymore. You're punishing people if they're successful. You overtax them. You hit them with a super tax. New Jersey, what a mess. New York, uninvestable. And
Wait,
California,
why is New York uninvestable?
Try and do a project in New York. Try and build a data.
Yeah, I'm asking, Don's point, is it beyond the taxes?
Oh, the regulatory environment is punitive. I had a project in upstate New York behind the grid in Niagara Falls for electricity, a global data center we were building. Eventually, it got so bad with the politicians in the local region and the state policy, we moved it to Norway and all the jobs. Norway has it now. Thousands of jobs coming out of that.
Can you believe that?
Care.
You want to know how bad regulations are in California? They said it, Kevin O'Leary and them said that there's so much regulations that, the average house in California is almost like $1 million. Can you believe that? Well, it cost $160,000 to build the house. But by the time you get done with all the regulations and all the paperwork and paying all the governments to do nonsense work, that $160,000 house, $600,000. That's how much gets added in because of all the regulations. This stuff is real, folks. I'm telling you, if we don't get things in check with our leaders and with regulations and whatnot, then we are going to be in inflation for a really long time.
Folks, New York don't care. Tomorrow, I'm going to do a pretty...
I'm telling you, the more and more that we jump into all of this, I just told you at the beginning of the video, right now, the DOJ is going after 3 well-known conservative voices. This is breaking from the Department of Justice. They're indicting Benny Johnson. Y'all know who that dude is. Tim Pool and Dave Rubin. Now, True Life Investing, we're not on that level yet. We're going to get there one day. But they are controlled by Tenet Media. And they have been indicted saying that they received $10 million from Russian government, from the Russian government to publish content as part of the Russian influence operation to sway the 2024 election. This is huge. And a lot of people are even saying this. Check this out. So Tim Pool says, I have engaged legal counsel. We are preparing to take action. More to come. Look what the Kamala HQ said. Trump operatives say their Project 2025 plan is to give Trump total unchecked legal power so that they can jail and execute those who don't support Trump if he wins. Have you ever heard of such ridiculous wording ever? But this is what they're saying. This is the thing. Now, not even after 24 hours after Tim Pool announced this lawsuit against Kamala HQ, he is now being indicted for Russian collusion. Remember, it started with what? It started in 2016 with the Russian collusion with Trump. And then in 2020, it was the Hunter Biden laptop, was Russian disinformation. Now, 3 of the biggest conservative voices out there are all being indicted as Russian agents. Can you believe this election year? This is nuts. On top of that, you won't even believe the amount of money that's being wasted. This came from Elon Musk. He's the richest guy in the world. Check this out. He said your tax dollars are being wasted for a degree that is hard to comprehend. This came from the government, guys. This is their analysis. This is their publications. There is no manipulation of this whatsoever. The data show that the federal government loses an estimated $233 billion to $521 billion annually. That's every year to fraud. This is $500 billion. We got homeless veterans. We've got people on Social Security that need a raise, but yet we can't do that. Why? Because we have so much fraud, because the government is too big. They're trying to regulate too much, and they're trying to be in everybody's business. On top of that, right now, you want to know how crazy the voting is getting? You will not believe what you're about to hear. Let me know your thoughts.
Voting starts in just a few weeks, and Republicans are taking action to secure the polls. Governors in states like Virginia, Texas, Ohio, Alabama have removed thousands of non-citizens from the voter rolls, and they're not stopping there. The group Americans for Citizen Voting pushing for more states to pass amendments that ban non-citizens from casting ballots. Listen.
I believe that we are the gold standard. I don't think there's any other country in the world that allows non-citizens to vote. But frankly, I don't care what the rest of the world does. America is the gold standard. We set the model, we lead, and only American citizens should be voting in our elections.
This comes as the RNC's warning how a nonprofit is trying to turn America's healthcare system into voter registration drives, coercing hospital patients to register to vote before getting treatment. Before you get this chemo, we're going to need you to register, and you'll only get it if you register. The letter says this: it is not difficult to imagine how a patient could feel pressured to register to vote or support a certain candidate to receive medical care.
Do you realize how crazy this is happening? And check it out. These nonprofits that are targeting hospital patients, these aren't Republican run. They're not Republican affiliated. They're Democrat affiliated nonprofits. Can you just believe the lengths at which they are going to try to change the narrative, to try to change the outcome? This should be illegal. They should not be allowed to do this. There should be a law or something. Let me know your thoughts that stay away from especially hospitals like this.
This perversion of the doctor-patient relationship raises serious legal concerns given the laws and regulations governing that relationship and voter registration. And the Biden-Harris administration's unleashing a task force to make sure Election Day plays out exactly like they want.
This task force has been marshaling the full resources of the Justice Department to aggressively investigate and prosecute threats targeting election workers, officials, and volunteers.
So all the poll watchers the RNC hired, you better not be watching too closely. Because if you stand less than 6 feet away when they count ballots, that's targeting, and you'll be arrested. And don't forget what we reported last week. Major cities like Detroit want all the poll watchers they can get, as long as they're Democrats. Red state governors need to do their part to secure the ballot box and make sure that every American's vote counts this November.
Did y'all know, we've reported it on this channel, that in places like Michigan, Wayne County, that the RNC sent over 700 people to apply and be poll watchers in Wayne County, one of the biggest counties in Michigan, to try to make sure we have fair elections, right? Over 700. Only 50 of them were approved to be poll watchers. You want to know how many Democrats have been approved to be poll watchers in that same county? Over 2,300. 2,300 Democrat poll watchers, 50 Republican. Tell me that this is not sway. Tell me that this is not being towards one way. Because I'm telling you this, if we don't watch them, if we don't catch them and hold them accountable, things are going to happen right under our noses. And that's why we got to cast our vote, cast them early as possible. Check this out.
What's coming out of Iran and Russia, the interference into our election, how in the world do we control that problem?
It's nothing new. Russia has for years tried to interfere in our elections. So has China, so has Iran, so has North Korea. Probably 20 or 30 other countries do as well. The reason that the Justice Department is highlighting China, in my opinion, is in part because they hope to perpetuate a subtext that somehow Russia's interfering on behalf of Trump. The Democrats have been doing this for the last 8 years. I don't think the interference by these foreign countries has that much of an effect. The internet's a big place. I trust people to make up their own minds about their own information. Some of my colleagues in Washington don't.
You know what I think would be somewhat helpful, and I guess I would direct this comment to the Vice President, Kamala Harris, is if we can hear directly from candidates rather than sort of the blather that we get on the internet. Yeah. She should do more interviews. I think the debate is going to be extremely important because the candidates are going to have to answer questions. But instead of having these vias, instead of letting the internet spread stuff, give us access so that we can talk to you. Give us interviews so that it sort of drowns out the noise, the false noise.
Well, it would certainly result in people having to interpret less. Right now, one of the biggest guessing games in the United States of America, for those plugged into the election, Greta, is what's the vice president's position? Nobody knows. I think I do. I've served with her for 7.5 years. The vice president, I don't hate anybody. I certainly don't hate our vice president. But she is she was in the Senate and she has been a vice president of a San Francisco Democrat. When I served with her in the Senate, she was easily the most left-wing member of the Senate. I think she'll govern accordingly.
And I'm telling you this, the more and more that we see Donald Trump and Vance, remember, they've already done like 35, 36 interviews. And how many has Kamala Harris and Tim Walz done? 1. If that tells you what they're trying to do, how they're trying to control the narrative, how they're trying to control the Democratic voice, it is just insane. We've never seen anything like this in the entire history of America. They're literally putting Kamala Harris, just like they did Joe Biden, putting her in the basement. You're not allowed to speak. You're not allowed to talk. We're lucky if we're going to get this debate because guys, I'm telling you this. I don't know if she's actually going to show up. I'm putting it out there. I feel like she's going to back out for some odd reason. We're not even going to see a debate, and we won't even see what she really thinks about and where she stands on her policies. Because right now, all she's doing is copying Trump. She copied him on the no tax on tips. She copied J.D. Vance on the child tax credit, increasing it. I mean, and now she's trying to copy him on the business. Like, she literally should just wear a MAGA hat. Maybe we should buy her one, send her one. Let me know.
Well, do you think, Judge, that part of the idea for her on this ramp up to the debate is to get out there, talk about the economy a little bit so that she doesn't have to explain it more? She can just say, I've already talked about that.
Well, she can certainly say that, but I doubt that Donald Trump's going to let her get away with that at the debate. And I know we're going to talk about the debate in the next couple of blocks. But what I think is interesting is if she wants to increase the tax deductions tenfold from $5,000 to $50,000, which is going to cost us $20 billion in the next decade. You have to say to yourself, well, once the government starts getting involved in your business, is DEI apply? How about the EPA? Do we have to be more environmentally friendly? And think about California. They raised the price of the minimum wage that then caused the businesses to go out of business because they couldn't afford to pay staff. So a lot of these ideas sound great, but even the idea, she said, we brought back jobs. And then we found out, no, there were 818,000 jobs that were lied about that you didn't bring back.
Fake.
And, she also talked.
You want to know how fake she is? I'm telling you what, there's a scandal that just broke 17 minutes ago. We're going to watch it in just a moment, so stay tuned. This is hilarious. It just shows you how fake Kamala Harris' campaign is.
About the fact that in addition to the record job growth, she said so many people are getting new jobs. It's all the illegals getting the new jobs. So once you peel back the layer of the onion and you realize that, she isn't as in-depth, as sophisticated as we think. And then there's one more thing. Consumer prices have gone up 21% since Biden and Harris have been in office. Why isn't she talking about that? Why hasn't she been doing anything about it? And then this whole idea about, she wants to cut red tape. Why don't you stop the regulatory onslaught? Why don't you take care of energy bills that are making all of us, making it incredibly hard to live for all families? And finally, something like 66% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. Nobody has $30,000 or $40,000 to start a new business in these 25 million new businesses that she's dreaming about. And, because the average cost is what, $30,000, $40,000. So, she's talking the talk. She doesn't know how to walk the walk.
To start a business, you really want certainty, right? And one of the things would be in the tax code, the Trump tax cuts that are due for extension, and she wants to get rid of them. So that's actually raising taxes on people. She'll say it's just for the rich, but it really wasn't.
She's never even started a business. She just worked at McDonald's.
And if y'all didn't know, that's the thing. Tim Walz and Kamala Harris have always worked for the government. And y'all know, when it comes to the government jobs, it's really hard to get fired. So if that tells you anything.
She never worked at McDonald's. There's no evidence. I'm just excited, Dana, for the debate tonight. It's going to be exciting to see these two go at it. Oh, that's right. Kamala chickened out. The Fox News debate was supposed to be tonight.
Yeah.
We're going to get the Hannity town hall instead. Greg makes the point about buying a house. She is asking us to buy a house sight unseen. Would you buy a house sight unseen? No. You got to look around. You got to check it out.
I got a friend that might.
She's asking us, just trust her. We can't. This position she's taking on regulation and tax cuts, she didn't create that. She doesn't even know what this stuff means. Do you think if you could ask Kamala Harris to explain what a small business startup tax deduction means, she could explain it? No. Kamala, what exactly are the regulations that you're going to be cutting for small business? She can't answer. Dana, she's the one that put the regulations on. With COVID, if you install a electric charging station, you have to hire a Pacific Islander under the Kamala Harris, Joe Biden plan. All this stuff. Why didn't she do tax cuts for small businesses the last 4 years? Huh? She's been in power.
Exactly.
Why doesn't she cut taxes on tips now? She's in power now. Why doesn't she do it? So if she goes over there and the debate happens and Trump says, okay, fine, agree with me, great. You're basically running on, I was right about everything. That's what her campaign is. Trump was right, I was wrong. I would love to compare the record. You're right. All these jobs that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden say they've created, 10 million were bounce-back jobs from the pandemic. Right. And the rest of them, Trump created more if you put it squared off. Labor participation rate, bigger under Trump. Incomes, bigger under Trump. I'd love to have that debate. And he should just straight up ask her. Don't let the debate moderator ask her anything. Look her in the eye, say, Kamala, why'd you lie about inflation? Why'd it go up so high? Just hit her right between the eyes. She'll never been able to do it. Keep her on the defensive. Right now, she's been on defense since the convention ended. And Nate Silver now, Trump's the odds-on favorite to win. Every day, the probability of Trump winning gets greater and greater.
Okay, he did not say red wave, but he was getting close to it.
Yeah, it's huge. Guys, I'm telling you, the more and more the stuff comes out, what you're about to see. So, Kamala Harris had a rally or campaign event, whatever you want to call it. So CBS Boston just called out Kamala Harris for busing in hundreds of people. There was 12 of these buses that she literally had brought in for people to come to attend her events because nobody in that area actually wanted to come. Watch this. It's a short video, but this is hilarious. This is how fake the things are that they do.
Well, behind me, hundreds of invited Harris supporters are leaving and boarding shuttle buses. This was a departure for Kamala Harris, leaving toss-up states to come to New Hampshire. Well, behind me, hundreds of invited Harris supporters.
You hear that? They're leaving on these shuttle buses. What's more hilarious is that they say that this is now a scandal because it's just people are being lied to. People are like are wondering and saying, you know, is there anything real or true? What does she believe? She's flip-flopped on all of her policies. But look at this. This is the Harris bus scandal. Like, can you believe this? Look at all these buses that are taking away all the people that were at her event. If there's anything more fake, there was 12 of these, y'all. 12. How bad is that? Like, to me, I think that we're really, really close. That it's people are going to see and she's just going to lose big time. Let me know your thoughts because I'm telling you what, with all this Russia stuff coming up, it's like they literally, you could have bet on it that this was going to come up. It's happened every election since Donald Trump has been in office. 2016, 2020, 2022, and more here. Check this out.
You Russia collusion's back. You'd say, Jesse, Democrats are stupid, but they're not that stupid. No one would believe it. Well, you'd be wrong, because it's back.
Breaking news out of Washington this morning. Sources now telling us exclusively that the Biden administration is set to accuse publicly Russia of extensive and prolonged interference in the 2024 election.
The Biden administration taking a series of actions to target what they allege are attempts by Russian-backed actors to manipulate public opinion here in the U.S. ahead of the presidential election.
They're doing it again, and they're using the same guys they always use.
This is being described by our sources as a whole-of-government action designed to target Russian propaganda and disinformation aimed at interfering in the 2024 election. It is said to include sanctions by the Treasury Department, law enforcement action by the Justice Department.
That guy there was Ken Delanian, who, if he's not a CIA agent, he's a CIA puppet. Every deep state hoax, Agent Delanian's got the scoop. Sources told him there was Russia collusion in 2016, the laptop was fake, and COVID definitely didn't leak from the lab. Ken Delanian was busted sending the CIA drafts of stories before he published them.
Wow.
One draft he sent to the CIA had the subject line, "Does this look better?" The LA Times had to disown Delanian after he was outed as a CIA collaborator. The United States government has interfered in nearly every country's elections. The CIA used to buy off entire political parties in Italy and Japan, literally handing out suitcases of cash to politicians, and has staged violent coups in Iran, Guatemala, Vietnam, Indonesia, countless countries, and pumped out American propaganda throughout Europe and Asia for decades. And we're now in an all-hands-on-deck situation because of a few Russian websites.
The Justice Department is seizing 32 internet domains that the Russian government and the Russian-sponsored actors have used to engage in a covert campaign to interfere and influence the outcome of our country's elections.
Wow.
This task force has been marshaling the full resources of the Justice Department to aggressively investigate and prosecute threats targeting election workers, officials, and volunteers.
What exactly is the Biden-Harris administration accusing Russia of? The machine tells the Times the Kremlin's propaganda apparatus has thrown itself behind Mr. Trump's candidacy, creating online news outlets and fake videos to denigrate President Biden and, more recently, Ms. Harris. If you're wondering what this...
Look, I don't think you have to create fake videos to make Biden look bad or even Kamala Harris look bad. I think you just show them what, I mean, that's the thing. They're literally trying to make these horrible, horrible videos of them, her changing her accent, not Trump, but Biden stumbling over his words, and now those are Russian disinformation videos, guy. Can you believe this?
Russian disinformation looks like, here it is. If you see the following narratives on the internet, it could be Russian interference. Are you ready? Record inflation, unaffordable prices for food and essential goods, risk of job losses for white Americans, privileges for people of color, threat of crime coming from people of color and immigrants, overspending on foreign policy and immigrants.
Did y'all see that? Look at this. This is bad. This is, to me, election interference. Let me know your thoughts. Because right now, food prices are unaffordable. We do have record inflation. The prices of stuff has not gone down. Things are 21% more expensive than what they were. This is what they are saying is potential Russian disinformation from the DOJ. This right here, to me, is election interference. This right here is them trying to change the narrative of saying what is true, what is fact, what we are living in real life. How stupid do they think the American people are? This is from the Department of Justice. I can't even believe that's their name. And they've literally said that if there's things out there that are saying that we have record inflation, unaffordable price for food, that's Russian disinformation. Shayla, I 100% agree. They're trying to repeat themselves. They're trying to change the narrative. This is the dumbest thing I cannot believe coming from our government. On top of, I told you earlier, they're saying that 3 of the largest conservative voices in the podcast arena are all Russian agents.
People of color, threat of crime coming from people of color and immigrants.
Threat of crime coming from people of color and immigrants. Overspending on foreign policy. Oh, you mean all the billions and hundreds of billions of dollars going to Ukraine? All that is this disinformation now? Like, I can't even believe that we're even conversating what this is. This is disgusting at the highest level. Let me know your thoughts.
Overspending on foreign policy. The United States government wants us to believe that the Russians are using Republican talking points to interfere with the election.
Are you kidding me?
And if we see things online about DEI or migrant crime or even record inflation, it could be Russian propaganda. And anybody who emails this stuff around or says it on TV could be a Russian agent and should be under investigation. This show tonight has all the earmarks of Russian propaganda. How do we know when Trump campaign officials appear on primetime, they're just not really Russian cutouts whose phones need to be tapped?
Wow.
After the Russia hoax was debunked by their own special counsel, they think you're not smart enough to remember. Even the reporters in the room are like, Garland, you're kidding, right?
Russia today sent a statement to Fox News and some other outlets here mocking the situation. They had 5 bullet points or 6 bullet points. The first said, ha, 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 ha. 2016 wants its cliches back. In all seriousness, there is a subsection of the country that when they hear Russian interference, they may believe that it's not true. It's not a real thing. How do you assure people this is a real situation?
Exactly.
Sure, that was much funnier in the original Russian, but for us, it's not funny. This is deadly serious, and we are going to treat it accordingly.
The Russians are probably meddling in our election to cause chaos. We expect it, but we can handle it. But it's not going to affect the outcome. If a couple more people on Twitter say, prices are so high, I can't afford a house, hashtag thanks, Harris, that's not going to cost her Georgia. And if you're Russia, you want Harris as president. The Russians invaded on her watch. Chinese agents are working in Democrat governors' offices. They're sleeping with Democrat congressmen. They're chauffeuring Democrat senators around and even bribing the Bidens with cash and diamonds. But oh, watch out for those Russians on YouTube. The Chinese are interfering on behalf of Harris.
Wow.
The Iranians are interfering on behalf of Harris. The cartels want Harris to win. If Harris wins, I'm not going to blame the whole world. But if she loses, the Democrats are going to blame Russia and investigate Trump again for collusion. They're locking in their excuse now for losing and their insurance policy. We predicted it.
Remember what Dan Bongino
The deep
said?
state's designated Trump a foreign threat, likely triggering another counterintelligence investigation run by the CIA and FBI. And they've designated Trump a domestic threat by combining the dictator on day one and bloodbath hoaxes. So the deep state's going to be crawling all over the Trump campaign this election. And if he wins, it'll be another war from within. If this is some kind of early October surprise, it's sloppy. This witch hunt's so obvious, Trump is refusing intel briefings because of it. If Kamala is really up in the polls, what's with the dirty tricks? The last campaign that cooked up the Collusion hoax lost. That should tell you that Kamala's internal polling must be pretty bad. The Democrats' numbers guru, Nate Silver, just put out another election forecast
Look at
with
this.
Trump as the heavy favorite. Look at that. Kamala flunked her DNC speech and her CNN interview.
Like, this is huge right here. Kamala comes into the race. Harris chooses VP. Everybody's excited. Oh, yay. It's all fake. All these polling, everything you see is fake. DNC starts. Now they're actually looking at the facts. What? That everything Harris has no basis, no policies, no foundations for nothing. And she just continues to do what? Copy Trump's policies. And that's why she's losing bad. Look at that gap. That is huge.
And now Silver says Pennsylvania and Michigan have become something of an issue for Harris. Journalist Mark Halpern is hearing whispers that Democrats are ruling out PA. Listen.
I talked to two people today, Democrats who know the state very well, and they both said that they thought Harris not only was behind in Pennsylvania today, but they thought she was likely to lose the state. They didn't rule out that she could win it, but they thought it was unlikely. And if you believe that, what these people believe, and if you believe that what my source does, that her chances of winning Pennsylvania are quite low, you can't make her the favorite. And you almost can't even say this race is a toss-up, because Harris without Pennsylvania is not in a competitive competition.
Not even.
The betting markets have Trump up 6 in Pennsylvania, while he's up in Nevada and up double digits in Georgia and Arizona. Kamala campaigned in New Hampshire today. New Hampshire hasn't gone red in 24 years. Her campaign's also spending time in Virginia and Minnesota. I thought those were blue states. Why do they need to be defended? The Harris campaign's also giving $25 million to House and Senate Democrats. It's almost like the money's better spent on the House and Senate because the White House is out of reach. Kamala is more unpopular than Biden. Wall Street Journal poll has her underperforming Biden with young voters, black voters, Latinos, men, and women. That's the entire country. And that's why this is going to be a dogfight. The Democrats' backs are up against the wall, and Trump expects them to play dirty.
You've said that politics is a dirty game in the past.
It is a dirty game. That's certainly true.
So if it is a game, how do you win at that game?
Well, you win at that game by getting the word out.
Yes.
And by using sense. You have to have a feeling where it's going. You also have to have a feeling of what's right. You can't necessarily just go what's popular. You have to do what's good for a country.
What would you...
And this is the thing. You know how they're fighting this? If you didn't watch the show earlier, the RNC has over 100 lawsuits. Hey, Roberta Mayer, thank you for joining as a member of the channel. Thank you so much. So right now, the RNC has over 100 lawsuits against 25 states to remove voters that are not citizens from their voter rolls. That's how we're fighting it. There's also fighting it to make sure that there's a fair amount of what? Poll watchers from the Republican side, just as much as there is from the Democratic side. I'm telling you, this is a crazy election. And I'm glad to be bringing the news to you. I'm glad to be bringing the truth to you from every angle that we can, showing you things that normally you wouldn't be able to see Because I'm telling you this, we need to know the truth and we need to get this out there as much as possible. Just want to say thank you to everybody that's watching. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. And if you don't mind, click the thumbs up like button. It really does help to grow the channel. And again, too, thank you to everybody that blesses our family with the Super Chat donation. We couldn't do this without you. We have done something new with the channel. Thank you, Roberta Mayer, for joining. We want to grow the members of this True Life News community to 10,000 members. We've got the membership at just 99 cents, not even $1, so 99 cents a month. We want to get to 10,000, and then we want to do some really, really good stuff in this world for people to change lives. We want to help bring a positive outcome to all the craziness that you see, all the craziness that we report. We need to do some good in this world, and I believe that we can do it with this community. So if you don't mind joining, it's only 99 cents a month. You can go, I have the link in the description. Click on it. You'll go to our main page for True Life News. There's a subscribe and then there's a join. If you join, it'll ask you, to join. You can join for the 99 cents or the $2.99 or the $4.99. Whatever you choose, we want to grow to 10,000 members. I believe that we can do that. We love you. We thank you, everybody, for supporting us. We're going to continue to serve you every day with the top news, and we will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.